My name is Barbara Adams Jager. I'm the Executive Director here at the Danbury Music Center. The Danbury Music Center has been here since 1935, and this season we will be celebrating our 85th anniversary. I've been with the Music Center for about 20 years now. I started out as a Nutcracker volunteer mom, and I've just come up through the ranks, learned a whole lot about the organization, and it's an organization that you could just love. We have a Danbury Symphony Orchestra, the Danbury Community Orchestra, the Danbury Concert Chorus. We have something called the Danbury Ambassadors of Music. We have summer programs that include summer bands, summer strings, summer festival orchestra, and a chamber music intensive. We do the Nutcracker every year, and we do the Messiah every year. So the Danbury Music Center is really a community organization, and we hope to continue to get the community very much involved in what we do. And we hope to have something for the community in everything we do. So what's going to be taking place on October 26th is something called an InsideOut Concert, and I find it very, very exciting. This is an opportunity for the orchestra to have people sitting with them in the actual pit. There is going to be no audience sitting somewhere else in the auditorium. The audience will be sitting with the musicians. It's going to be a real immersive experience. Imagine just sitting next to your favorite instrument or your favorite musician and feeling the kinds of tones and notes that these talented musicians are playing along with them. The beloved Dvorak's New World Symphony has been chosen to be played, so it's something that the average person knows and has heard, and it should be very, very exciting. It's something new for the Danbury Music Center, and it's something new for Danbury. I hope that the community would get involved and just try it and see what it feels like to be in a concert from the inside out. The following day, the Danbury Symphony Orchestra will be conducted by Ariel Ruzhikov, who is the music conductor and director at the Danbury Symphony, and he will be doing the Dvorak's program again, along with Brahms' Opus 120 for clarinet. And that should be also a very exciting concert. The concert on the 26th, the Inside Out Concert, is being conducted by David Bernard. He is the founder of the Inside Out concept, and Ariel Ruzhikov will be playing the viola and the viola section for that concert. So this is all a very exciting weekend that we have lined up. I'm hoping what this does is to give the community and the people who are just walking up and down the streets of Danbury an opportunity to sit in with the orchestra, feel the music like I do, and really appreciate what and how the sound comes to you in the audience. I can't decide which group I want to sit with. The clarinets, the violas, the violins. Maybe I'd like to sit right next to the conductor. I'm not sure, but I hope this is something that everybody will appreciate and really take something home with them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ariel, Ari for short, Rudyakov. I am the music director and conductor of the Danbury Symphony. And I am here today with Maestro David Bernard, who is the chief architect, implementor, and creative mind behind InsideOut Concerts. Together we have collaborated and partnered to put forth a weekend of two truly unique concert events and experiences. And we'd like to chat about that and what that all means for our audiences, ourselves, and, well, anything else that may come to mind.
Wonderful. So let me just talk a little bit about the background behind Inside Out, which is what we call this type of event. It came about when I was thinking about how many people are enthusiastic about coming to concerts. Ari and I would spend $75 on a ticket to hear the Vienna Philharmonic at Carnegie Hall. Yet there are so many people who've never been to concerts and really didn't want to spend the money or commit to coming to concerts. And I thought to myself, how could these two different kinds of people exist in the same world? And then it dawned on me that both Ari and I and other classical music enthusiasts have had an experience, an inside-out experience early in their lives where they've played in an orchestra or sung in a chorus or played in a band, where they're able to experience music making, not just hearing the music, but experiencing how music is made, seeing and interacting with other musicians around them 360 degrees, and how powerful that experience is that drives many people to become musicians for their entire lives. It's a powerful experience. And I thought, well, for these people who are not enthusiastic about coming to concerts, who have never been to concerts, why don't we just bring them inside the orchestra and give them that experience? And I've developed the approach to do this over several years, and it's been an amazing success. When people experience music this way, it's mind-blowing for them. To our surprise, not just for people new to classical music, but also to experienced concert goers. Those who are new to classical music, experiencing, actually seeing the conductor from the front, seeing the musicians interact with each other, and listening to the music up close is very powerful. For people who have been to concerts, hearing the music with such detail and such granularity is such a powerful experience for them, more so than, in some ways, than when they experience concerts as part of an audience. It's a very powerful experience for them.
Thinking about the fact that the Danbury Music Center is on the doorstep of celebrating 85 years of its existence, I began to think, having been informed and apprised and admiring the Inside Out experience and what you have been doing with it in the city and elsewhere, I imagine. What could we do that would be a little bit different for Danbury Music Center patrons, audience members, in our efforts to build out fans, supporters, and people's general knowledge about classical music? So I thought we would try to do something a little bit different. And so I, in consultation with our executive director, invited David to come as our guest conductor and utilize his skills to bring that experience to Danbury for the first time. And I think that, as David has already said, the audience who attends this will be well satisfied and with the experience, and it will be very well worth their dollars paid to come and sit with musicians inside the orchestra. It's an entirely different experience. We all hope that it will be of benefit to the Music Center in the short term and the long term, so that we can watch our organization flourish, especially on the eve of such an important milestone year.
Fantastic. I think that one of the to comment on Ari's description of this as an experience, it's important to talk about that, because most of the time when we think about listening to music, we can listen to music easily through our phones and through various electronic means. The more but music is more than that. Music is an experience, and these Inside Out events highlight the experiential component of classical music, both for the audience and for the orchestra. So I've talked a little bit about how the audience is affected by this, and how both new concertgoers and experienced concertgoers both get a brand new experience out of classical music through this. It's also an important effect on the musicians. Now, I have to say, the first time a musician in an orchestra has to perform with an audience member sitting next to them, it can be a little bit stressful for them, having people sitting next to them. But that only lasts a small amount of time, because something special happens after a few minutes, after people become comfortable. The first thing that happens is that the musician realizes that when they're performing to a traditional audience, and the audience is seated, 50 yards away from them, they're not seeing the result of their music making, the impact on the audience. When the audience is sitting with them, they're able to see the impact of their music making in real time right away. And it's a symbiotic relationship between the audience and the musician. They're supporting each other in real time. That's an amazing thing that happens. And this is special for them. This is a special experience, not just for the audience, it's special for the musicians as well.
I think that, as you mentioned that, David, I think that symbiosis would work both ways. I think as I envision myself sitting in the orchestra and with somebody sitting next to me, I will be very focused on my part and playing it to the very best of my ability. And I think it would be a bracing experience for the person sitting next to me, in addition to myself. Also, it's completely without distraction. When you're in the audience, your temptation is to use your mobile devices to either take photographs, if you're allowed to do so, or communicate with somebody who if you are distracted, if you're not fully engaged in the moment. These pocket devices have become rather pernicious in that way. So this prevents that entirely. Of course, as a player, I wouldn't be on my iPhone, hopefully. But as an audience member, I think it would really take that away and bring them, close out that noise, so to speak. So that really what you are doing is focusing on the task at hand in terms of the player, and for the audience member, you are right there and you have to be committed to the experience and to be able to actively listen that way. My hope is that carries beyond the Inside Out concerts to even the concert the very next day, which we are hosting at WestCon at 4 o'clock on October 27th, where it is a traditional concert experience, but if those who would like to have an immersive weekend of music, in addition, they can come to WestCon and see how it may have affected them differently. Will they listen differently? Will they look upon the orchestra and the players a little bit differently? Or the soloist, our clarinetist friend Todd Palmer, who's playing a beautiful piece by Brahms, for example. So I think that the benefits are manifold, and we want music to be less of a distance experience or a concept experience, I think, and something that people can connect to and relate to on a more human level. And I think this fits the bill.
That's a fantastic point. I think the first thing that comes to mind is how important it is for music to be a visceral experience for an audience. So back at the premiere of Dvorak's New World Symphony, which is the work that we'll be performing both in the Inside Out concert on the 26th of October and in the full concert on the 27th of October, those who attended that concert didn't necessarily know everything about Dvorak or everything about the New World Symphony because it was new. And they appreciated that music for the effect it had on them in the moment at the time. And these days, if you go to a regular concert and you see people who are maybe they think they don't know enough about the music to appreciate it, and they start to read the program notes to learn more about it, and they're reading it and cramming, and then the concert begins and they're not done, and so they keep cramming and they miss the concert basically because they're doing that, because there's so much pressure on them to have more pre-knowledge to experience this music. The music is an amazing experience on its own. You sit in a concert hall, you sit in an Inside Out, and the music has this effect on you. And the great thing about the Inside Out is it shows you this in real time. You're able to experience not just what you're hearing, but it's what you're seeing and what you're feeling at the same time. And Ari is 100% right that one of the things that we hope from these experiences is how that is transferable to a regular concert. So once you're able to have that experience in your mind, that you then go to a regular concert, and those regular concerts take on a whole new meaning.
I think you likened the experience, David, at one point to going to the IMAX theater.
Absolutely.
In large scale and high definition is really what differentiates the experience to some extent.
A lot of regular concert goers who come to these Inside Outs tell me that they've heard the piece a million times, but they've heard a level of detail that they've never heard before. In a regular concert, you really just get the sound delivered to you in a concert hall. In this concert, there's a lot going on around you. Not only do you experience the sound in 3 dimensions, you're going to have the sound occur to your left and to your right, behind you, in front of you. It's really surround sound. You're able to see how the musicians play their instruments and how they communicate with each other.
This is the first time I've heard Neptune in this position, and I know the piece really well. So hearing all the individual divided violin parts so close and around me, it almost becomes chamber music.
That's the feeling that orchestra musicians feel when they play and when they listen to each other. That's a great observation.
The way that the fingers have to move so quickly really was shocking to me. I never heard that before, ever. And I listen to Neptune all the time. So this is very surprising to me. I'm going to have to rewind.
That is a fantastic comment.
I feel the vibrations in my body.
You feel the vibrations in your body. That's really, I mean, obviously vibrations are an important part of music, right? So you're going to hear vibrations, that's how sound is made. But, yeah.
I really feel it in my body, especially the soles of my feet.
Ah. So it's surround sound.
Sensation.
And you know, that's something that every orchestra musician, when they play a performance, feel, right? And that's part of what excites us, because it's more than just hearing beautiful music.
we chose the New World Symphony for several different reasons. Well, the piece, my goodness, is a masterpiece to start with. Probably the best known of Dvorak's symphonies, I would think by a stretch. The orchestra played, the Danbury Symphony played this piece 5-6 years ago, perhaps the last time, and they love it. They love the piece, and they also are very much on board through the generosity of their volunteer time to play both of these concerts this weekend, being committed to that experience themselves. So I think it was an organic decision-making process between the two of us to come up with the New World Symphony. I look forward to being in the orchestra and hearing all that you have to say about it during your presentation, and look forward to coming away from the experience as well with my own mind open and refreshed. Perhaps.
Wonderful.
And I'll be conducting the next day, so playing viola one day, going back to conducting the next will be very interesting.
Oh, that's fantastic, fantastic experience. I think one of the most important things here in the Inside Out is helping to draw the audience inside the music. So the default behavior for many people who go to concerts is to just listen to the music. You have to kind of shift that so that they're not only trying to listen, but they're actively seeing, hearing, and feeling. And so the process in the beginning of the Inside Out event is somehow to reorient audiences to be more engaged. And so that's part of the process at the beginning of the event. And the Dvorak New World Symphony is such a great selection for all of the reasons that Ari mentioned, plus that musically speaking, this work is very warm and welcoming. And it's very much in sync with the objectives of the Inside Out, to welcome the audience inside the music. The Inside Out approach, very much about the Inside Out approach, is how to seat the audience. And so there is a process, a structure, a methodology for how to set up the audience to maximize the experience for them. And so we will use that methodology in setting up the room for the Inside Out event. Now, how do you seat people? Well, everyone has to arrive 30 minutes before. It's kind of like boarding an airplane. And it's very important to be able to seat people in a way that is best for them. And so we certainly seat from the front of the orchestra back through the various sections, and it's important that we do that in the right way to maximize the experience. So the most important thing to note about the Inside Out is that people do not have to know or do anything differently. The important thing, we will set this up to make sure that their experience is maximized, that they will have an immersive experience in classical music. As a conductor, and this is kind of an amusing aspect to this, is that, so you're standing up there and you're conducting, and you are looking at a certain way, say looking at the wind section, and while you're looking at the wind section, there's somebody who's not a musician sitting in between you and the wind section, and so I look at them, they look at me, and they're like, well, what do you want me to do? And so but the most important thing about that is for that person who the conductor is looking at, even just that moment is something that is an incredible experience for them, for an audience member to have that experience inside the orchestra, being able to see the conductor and how the nonverbal communication and the interaction between the musicians and the conductor, to experience that while part of it, is extremely powerful.
I would think that in the seating process, one must account for the different types of instruments as well. I am a string player, and so I would think that it's necessary for somebody to sit a little far away from my bow, so I'm not either elbowing them on the right or poking them in the eye on the left. So I imagine it's a bit different for the string sections rather than the relatively immobile wind section.
It is. It absolutely is.
And I look forward to seeing how you work that out.